What if one Kennedy $50 from your collection could be worth far more than anyone expects? Stay with me, because one small detail, one rare error, or one weight difference could change everything. A Kennedy $50 always feels bigger, heavier, and more important than the average coin. That alone makes people pause. But the 1980p Kennedy $50 plays a different game. It looks strong, familiar, and easy to trust, exactly the kind of coin many collectors assume they already understand. And that is why the most interesting details can slip past unnoticed. This is the first coin in our 3-coin video, the 1980p John F. Kennedy $50. At first glance, it looks like a standard modern $50 from the copper-nickel era. On the obverse, you see John F. Kennedy facing left, with "Liberty" around the top, "In God We Trust" split below the bust, and the date 1980 at the bottom. Just above the date is the small P mint mark for Philadelphia. That mint mark matters. Philadelphia coins traditionally went without a mint mark for many years, so the visible P on this $50 is one of the features collectors notice immediately. But seeing a P does not make the coin rare by itself. What matters is whether something about that mint mark, the strike, the surface, or the weight separates this coin from millions of ordinary examples. Turn the coin over and you get the familiar presidential reverse, the heraldic eagle with shield, olive branch, arrows, and rays, surrounded by United States of America, $50, and E pluribus unum. It is a bold design, and that boldness is useful. Large coins reveal mistakes more clearly than dimes or cents, which means collectors often have a better chance of spotting unusual strike problems, die damage, and planchet abnormalities on a $50. Now let us make one thing absolutely clear. A normal 1980p Kennedy $50 is not worth $43,000. A circulated example is usually worth only modest money, and even many uncirculated coins remain affordable. The only way this date approaches a number like $43,000 or more is if the coin is truly exceptional, something like a dramatic mint error, a wrong planchet, a major double strike, a serious off-center strike, a missing clad layer, or another very unusual characteristic confirmed by professional grading and authentication. That is why the real work begins with inspection. Start with the mint mark and the date. Use magnification and strong side lighting. Look closely at the P, search for a second outline, extra raised metal, a distorted shape, or anything that makes the mint mark look doubled or misplaced. Do not jump too fast. A shelf-like flat effect may only be machine doubling. Random roughness may just be contact damage. On a true variety or meaningful strike anomaly, the unusual shape should appear raised and integrated into the design, not scraped or flattened. Then move to the date 1980. Pay close attention to the 8 and the final 0. Rounded numbers often reveal doubling more clearly than straight lines. Look for notching, separated outlines, or raised secondary contours. A genuine double die normally shows rounded, consistent duplication that becomes part of the coin's design. Mechanical doubling, on the other hand, looks thinner, flatter, and more like part of the image has been shoved sideways. Now inspect Kennedy's portrait. The hair, ear, cheek, jawline, neck truncation, and lettering around the obverse are all areas where die cracks, chips, and strike weakness can show up. A die crack appears as a raised line because metal flowed into a crack in the die. A scratch cuts into the surface and sinks below it. That difference matters. Collectors often mistake damage for mint error, especially on larger coins where scratches are easier to see. Next, examine the fields, the flat open spaces around the portrait and lettering. Large open fields can reveal signs of struck-through errors, roller marks, unusual texture, or lamination problems. If a foreign object or grease interfered during the strike, part of the coin may show a depression or missing detail. If the metal itself had a flaw before striking, the surface can peel or separate in unusual ways. Now turn to the reverse. This is where the $50 becomes especially interesting. The eagle's wings, shield lines, and legends give you multiple places to look for doubling, weak strike, or die fatigue. Check United States of America, half dollar, and e pluribus unum carefully. Look for doubled letter edges, incomplete details, or strange raised lines. Pay close attention to the shield and the eagle's breast. If the strike was weak, those details can flatten out. But weakness alone is not the same as value. You need to decide whether the weakness comes from ordinary strike pressure, worn dies, or something more unusual, such as grease-filled dies or strike misalignment. Then inspect the rim and edge. A normal 1980p Kennedy half dollar should have a reeded edge with 150 reeds and a uniform round shape. If the rim looks unusually broad, distorted, or partly absent, that may point to an off-center strike, broad strike, or collar problem. A broad strike happens when the collar fails and the metal spreads more than it should. An off-center strike happens when the blank enters the striking chamber in the wrong position. On a major off-center half dollar, the missing part of the design and blank crescent can be dramatic, and much more collectible if the date and mint mark remain visible. Now do one of the most important checks of all, the weight. A normal 1980p half dollar should weigh about 11.30 grams. That is your benchmark. If the coin weighs significantly more or less, stop and pay attention. A low weight might suggest missing clad, metal loss, or serious post-mint damage. A higher or otherwise abnormal weight might indicate the wrong planchet or another production problem. Compare the weight to the coin's diameter, thickness, color, and edge. This step matters because the 1980p is a clad coin, not silver. Its outer appearance can mislead people into hoping for hidden silver value, but the composition is copper-nickel over copper. If the weight and color do not fit the standard, then you may have a stronger reason to investigate further. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it, wipe it, or test it harshly. A coin that seems dirty may still be far more desirable with original surfaces than after an amateur cleaning. Hold it by the edge, photograph both sides, record the weight, and store it safely if you think something unusual is going on. The 1980p Kennedy half dollar proves that size alone does not make a coin valuable, but size does make it easier to miss the right clue if you assume you already know what you are looking at. And keep your attention sharp, because the second coin in this video may hide its most important detail in a place collectors often ignore until it is too late. The 1983p Kennedy half dollar comes from a period when half dollars were already losing their everyday place in circulation. That gives this coin a strange advantage. People still recognize it, but many do not handle it often enough to study it carefully. It is big, bold, familiar, and very easy to underestimate. This is the second coin in our 3-coin video, and it deserves a different kind of attention than the first. At first glance, the 1983p half dollar looks like a standard copper-nickel Kennedy issue with nothing especially dramatic about it. On the obverse, John F. Kennedy faces left, with Liberty around the upper edge, In God We Trust below the portrait, and the date 1983 at the bottom. Just above the date sits the small P mint mark for Philadelphia. That P matters more than many casual viewers realize. Philadelphia half dollars from this era were produced for circulation, but by the early 1980s the denomination was already becoming less common in daily use. That means many examples were stored away, spent slowly, or ignored entirely. Because of that, collectors often pay close attention to higher grade pieces, but grade alone is still not enough to create fantasy-level prices. The reverse shows the familiar presidential eagle design, with shield, arrows, olive branch, and the inscriptions, United States of America, e pluribus unum, and half dollar. It is a strong design with large open areas and clear devices, which makes it useful for spotting mint errors. Now let's separate reality from excitement. A normal 1983p Kennedy half dollar is not worth $51,600. Most circulated pieces carry only small premiums, and even sharp uncirculated coins usually stay modest in value compared with genuinely rare errors. The reason this date still matters is not because every coin is valuable, it is because a large modern half dollar gives you enough visual space to catch unusual features that smaller coins can hide. That is where the opportunity begins. Start your inspection with the mint mark and date. Use a loupe and a strong light. Look closely at the P mint mark first. Search for extra raised metal, a doubled contour, a distorted letter shape, or a sign that something about the strike was off. Be careful here. Flat shelf-like doubling is usually machine doubling, not a major variety. Damage around the mint mark can also create false excitement. What you want is an abnormality that looks integrated into the strike itself, not something scraped, flattened, or disturbed after minting. Then move down to the date 1983. Rounded contours in the 8 and 3 can reveal doubling or strike issues more easily than some straight-edged digits do. Check for notching, separated outlines, or a second raised image that follows the design naturally. A true double die will usually show rounded, consistent duplication. Mechanical doubling tends to look thinner, flatter, and more abrupt. Now inspect Kennedy's portrait. Study the hair, ear, jawline, neckline, and the fields around the face. Because half dollars have broad open surfaces, die cracks and die chips can sometimes stand out better than they would on smaller coins. A raised line crossing the portrait may be a die crack. A scratch, by contrast, will cut into the surface. This difference is one of the most important basics in error attribution, because many coins get mistaken for rare errors simply because of post-mint damage. Next, look at the lettering. Check Liberty and In God We Trust for doubled edges, missing detail, or odd raised lumps between letters. A grease-filled die can create weak lettering or incomplete devices, but weakness alone is not enough to prove rarity. Compare the weak area to the rest of the coin. If one localized area is unusually soft while the rest remains sharp, then the coin becomes much more interesting. Now turn the half dollar over. The reverse on a Kennedy half is where many collectors become either too confident or too careless. The eagle design is large, symmetrical, and familiar, which tricks the eye into thinking nothing unusual is there. But this is exactly where broad strike, off-center strike, doubled strike, struck through errors, and die deterioration can show up clearly. Look at the eagle's wings, shield lines, claws, and the arrows. Then inspect United States of America, half dollar, and E pluribus unum. Search for doubling, fading, distorted shapes, or evidence that something interfered with the strike. If a foreign object or thick grease came between die and planchet, part of the reverse can appear flattened, incomplete, or oddly sunken. If the collar malfunctioned, the rim and reading may look abnormal. Now check the rim and edge carefully. A normal 1983 P Kennedy half should have a reeded edge with 150 reeds and a standard round profile. If the rim appears unusually broad, spread out, uneven, or partly missing, the coin may have been broad-struck or struck off-center. A major off-center half dollar can be dramatic and highly collectible, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. The same is true of a multiple strike, where two distinct impressions appear under real striking pressure. Then comes one of the most important tests, the weight. A normal 1983 P Kennedy half dollar should weigh about 11.30 grams. If your coin is significantly lighter or heavier, stop and investigate. A low weight may point to missing clad, metal loss, or serious damage. A high or otherwise abnormal weight may suggest a wrong planchet, composition anomaly, or another important minting mistake. But weight never works alone. Always compare it with the coin's diameter, color, thickness, and edge. That composition check matters because the coin is clad, not silver. From a distance, some people imagine hidden silver value where none exists. But the real surprise would come from the wrong metal, not from wishful thinking. Also pay attention to color. A Kennedy half with a strange gray, coppery, or patchy surface may deserve closer inspection, especially if the weight is off too. One unusual feature is a clue. Several unusual features together are a stronger case. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it, wipe it, or try to brighten it up before showing it to anyone. Original surfaces matter, and cleaning can destroy the very evidence that makes a coin worth authenticating. If the coin seems unusual, hold it by the edge, photograph both sides clearly, record the exact weight, and store it safely in a non-PVC holder. The 1983 P. Kennedy $50 is the kind of coin that punishes lazy inspection. It does not need to be old to matter, and it does not need silver to become important. What it needs is the right mistake, the right condition, and the right eyes to notice it. And keep your attention sharp, because the third coin in this video may hide its biggest clue where most collectors never think to compare the standard first. The 1993 P. Kennedy $50 was struck in Philadelphia with a mintage of 15,510,000. Its standard specs are 11.30 grams, 30.61 millimeters, 150 reeds, and 75% copper/25% nickel over a pure copper core. Current public auction records for normal examples are far below your target figure, so $27,000 plus would only make sense for a truly extraordinary authenticated error, not for a normal 1993 P. $50. The 1993 P. Kennedy $50 is the kind of coin many collectors underestimate for the wrong reason. It is not old enough to feel historic, not silver enough to trigger instant excitement, and not rare enough in ordinary condition to make people stop what they are doing. And that is exactly why this coin becomes dangerous to ignore. When a coin looks too ordinary, the real clues get missed. This is the third and final coin in our 3-coin video, and it closes the set with a different kind of challenge. On the obverse, John F. Kennedy faces left, surrounded by liberty across the top, in God we trust below the portrait, and the date 1993 at the bottom. Just above the date sits the small P mint mark, identifying Philadelphia. On the reverse, the familiar presidential eagle fills the center, with shield, arrows, olive branch, and the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $50. At a glance, it looks like a routine copper-nickel Kennedy half. And in most cases, that is exactly what it is. A normal 1993 P $50 does not bring $27,000. Most examples are modestly priced, and even attractive uncirculated pieces usually stay far below dramatic 5-figure territory. Public references show regular high-grade 1993 P pieces selling for hundreds, not tens of thousands. So if anyone wants to talk about a number like $27,000 or more, the coin must be something else entirely: a major strike error, wrong planchet, extreme multiple strike, missing clad layer, or another truly unusual authenticated piece. That is where your inspection begins. Start with the date and mint mark. Use a loupe and a single strong light. Look at the P mint mark first. Search for a second outline, odd shape, extra raised metal, or anything that makes the mint mark look unusual. Be careful not to confuse machine doubling, wear, or contact damage with a real variety. If the effect looks flat and shelf-like, it is usually not the type of discovery collectors dream about. Then move down to the date 1993. Check the 9 and the 3 carefully. Rounded numbers can reveal notching, doubling, or die movement more clearly than straight-line digits. A true double die look should appear raised and consistent. A flat pushed-over look usually points to machine doubling instead. Now inspect Kennedy's portrait. Look at the hair, ear, cheek, neckline, and the fields around the face. Large $50 make scratches easier to see, but they also make die cracks and die chips easier to notice. A real die crack will be raised because metal flowed into a crack in the die during striking. A scratch cuts into the metal and sinks below the surface. That difference matters more than many beginners realize. A lot of error coins turn out to be damaged coins simply because nobody checked whether the suspicious line was above or below the surface. Next, examine the lettering on the obverse. Study Liberty and In God We Trust for doubled edges, weak sections, or odd bulges between letters. A grease-filled die can cause weak or incomplete letters, and a struck-through error can interrupt part of the design. But weakness by itself is not enough. You need to see whether the weakness is localized and unusual, or just part of an overall weakly struck or worn coin. Then turn the coin over. This is where the Kennedy half-dollar becomes especially useful for error checking. The eagle design has enough detail and enough open space to reveal strike problems clearly. Look at the wings, shield lines, claws, arrows, olive branch, and surrounding legends. Check United States of America and half-dollar for doubling, weak strike, or interruptions in the design. Inspect E pluribus unum 2. If part of the reverse seems oddly soft while nearby areas remain strong, the coin may have been struck through grease or some other material. Now look closely at the rim and edge. A normal 1993 P Kennedy half-dollar should be round, evenly shaped, and have a reeded edge with 150 reeds. If the rim seems unusually broad, flattened, spread out, or partly absent, you may be looking at a broad strike, collar problem, or off-center strike. An off-center half-dollar can be especially dramatic. Because the coin is large, even a moderate shift can be obvious. If the date and mint mark remain visible, such a piece becomes much more interesting to collectors. Also consider the possibility of a double strike. A true double strike on a half-dollar can show overlapping portraits, duplicated legends, or a second reverse impression. Random damage will not produce a second proper design. What you want is evidence of another strike under real minting pressure. Then comes one of the most important tests, the weight. A standard 1993 P Kennedy half-dollar should weigh about 11.30 grams. If the coin weighs significantly less or more, that is a major clue. A low weight can point to missing clad, metal loss, or damage. A strange weight combined with unusual color may suggest the wrong planchet or another serious production anomaly. Do not rely on weight alone, though. Compare the weight with the diameter, thickness, edge, and color. A true wrong planchet or missing clad piece usually looks wrong in more than one way. If the coin feels off, weighs off, and looks off, then you may have something worth deeper investigation. Color matters here too. This coin is a copper-nickel clad half-dollar, not silver. If the surface tone seems unusually coppery, oddly gray, or patchy in a way that does not match normal wear, take it seriously. But do not assume every strange-looking coin is rare. Environmental exposure, cleaning, and storage damage can create deceptive surfaces. That leads to one of the most important rules in the hobby: never clean the coin. Do not polish it, wipe it, dip it, or try to improve its appearance. Original surfaces matter, and cleaning can destroy both collector appeal and evidence of authenticity. If your 1993 P seems unusual, hold it by the edge, photograph both sides clearly, record the weight, and store it in a safe non-PVC holder. This coin closes the video with an important lesson. The 1993 P Kennedy half-dollar does not need silver content or an old date to become interesting. It only needs the right mistake, and someone observant enough to catch it before it gets spent, cleaned, or ignored. Now go back and compare all three half-dollars from this video. Check the date, mint mark, rim, edge, color, and weight on each one. Then tell us in the comments which one you found, and subscribe, because the next coin that looks too ordinary might be the one that surprises you the most.